Почитувани, добре дојдовте во интервју на OhridNews, овој пат во летно издание. Гостин традиционално ова време од годината амбасадорот на Европската унија во Македонија, господинот Дејвид Гир. Добре дојдовте.
Благодарам, Горан.
Повод за интервјуто секако ќе биде традиционалната вечер на Европската унија на Охридско лето, но ќе поразговараме и на други актуелни теми, заштитата на природното и културното наследство, секако неодмирливи и некои политички теми како што се уставните измени и скрининг процесот. Да започнеме со Охридско лето. Европската унија востанови еден прекрасен настан од 2007 година на фестивалот Охридско лето. Тоа е вечерта на ЕУ на која настапуваат еминентни музички имиња од Европа, така ќе биде и оваа година. Пабло Бараган, Елоис Белакон на пијано, вечерва во црквата Света Софија. Тоа ќе биде еден прекрасен настан. Со што ќе продолжи соработката помеѓу ЕУ, односно Канцеларијата на Европската унија Охридско лето. Како ја оценувате ова соработка и како гледате на годинешниот настан?
Благодарам, Goran, за поканата. I think you're absolutely right. We've established a nice tradition here of meeting on the occasion of the Ohrid Summer Festival to have a bit of a wider discussion both about Ohrid but also about what's going on in the world at the moment. We're very happy with the cooperation that we've had with the Summer Festival, as you said, since 2007. Tonight is going to be, I think, another excellent edition of high-quality music, which we're very happy to support in the magnificent surroundings of Sveti Sofia. I think already it is well established. The Summer Festival is an important agenda item on the European cultural calendar, bringing together remarkable individuals from across Europe and beyond, but also being a great occasion to showpiece what this country has to give, not just in terms of magnificent Ohrid and its lake, but also in terms of its culture, its diversity, and its wealth of experience, linguistic, cultural, and artistic. So very happy to support this. Just one of the many events that we support across the country, again bringing artists from Europe, European Union, together with artists from this country in, I think, a very rich relationship and cooperation.
Значајна е поддршката која ја дава Европската унија и мисијата на Европската унија во полето на културата, меѓутоа е исклучително значајна и во заштитата на природата. Особено Охрид е тука во фокусот затоа што е уникатно место, едно од 38 во светот заштитени како светско културно и природно наследство. Мисиите Бернската, Рамсарската и мисијата на УНЕСКО ова пролет беа во Охрид, се очекува извештај во декември. Се забележува генерално дека отсуствува акција нели на терен, но ќе видиме што ќе каже самиот извештај на УНЕСКО. Кој е вашиот впечаток? Сметате ли дека доволно правиме воопшто и како граѓани, меѓутоа и како локална и како централна власт за заштита на универзалните вредности на Охридскиот регион, проблем кој се провлекува децении на насад?
I mean, again, you're right, Ohrid is a remarkable asset both in terms of the town but also the wider lake, and in cultural and in environmental and natural assets. And it's under pressure. It's under pressure from human activity, including illegal constructions and constructions which don't match with the spirit of the place. It's under pressure from pollution and from other human activities. And of course, it is under pressure from climate change. So it's very important that we all come together to preserve the lake and the town, not just for us to enjoy now, but also for future generations, our children, to continue to celebrate and enjoy this space. Preserving it means there needs to be very good cooperation at every level between central government, the local authorities, civil society, businesses, and ordinary citizens. There has been some progress in that, but a lot more is needed. Often people sometimes see this as a sort of an opposition between the interests of citizens and making sure that they have an economic future here, and some idea about preserving it as a kind of museum. It's not about that at all. I think it's very different. It's about making sure that the living here is sustainable. So you keep the wonderful historical and artistic wealth of this city and of the lake region. You keep its natural beauty, they're sustained, so that will always mean that people will want to come here and see something exceptional. But at the same time, you recognize, yes, we do need the companies investing. We have a large number of companies from the European Union, notably Germany, but just among others, who are investing. And we ourselves in the European Union are trying to do what we can, both to support the natural environment and protecting the heritage, but also investment here. So after this interview, I'll be going to 2 different centres, one at the university, which is trying to promote blue tech and innovation, which is a fantastic opportunity to bring investors in, working in the area of water protection with the most modern technologies from a business angle. And then afterwards I'll be going to another centre which we've been supporting very strongly, which many of you will know, the Kasana Hub,
yes.
which again is an idea of bringing jobs, bringing the best of technology together in one place, and particularly young people, and creating a thriving business and innovation community there, side by side with the wonders of the lake, side by side with the beautiful cultural heritage that you have here. It's a win-win.
Постои можност Охридскиот регион да биде ставен на листата на заштитени подрачја во опасност. Тоа не е ништо страшно, тоа го ведат и експертите и Министерката за култура го повторува. Така ќе биде Охрид под постојан мониторинг, ќе работиме веројатно повеќе и подобро на терен, ќе бидат попристапни можеби некои фондови кои ќе ни помогнат посоодветно да го заштитиме Охридскиот регион. Во кој правец Европската унија тука може да помогне? Кои се тие конкретни чекори кои очигледно дека ни недостасуваат во заштитата на културното и природното наследство?
As you know, we've recently opened accession negotiations with North Macedonia, and we've started the first steps in that process, including the screening process, which you mentioned earlier. The next phase is really to focus on the reform agenda and to be taking forward reforms in every different area. And that includes in the area of the environment, that includes in areas such as water standards, but it also includes the cultural field, the fight against corruption, the rule of law. All of those issues, to my mind, come together in the Ohrid question and in making sure that its development is in line with UNESCO standards. So I think they're very complementary. As you move forward towards the European Union, implementing individual reforms which will make a difference to citizens, improving many different areas of their lives. So Ohrid should be part of that, including, as I say, in these key areas such as the environment, cultural protection, the rule of law, the fight against corruption, nature protection. All of these issues are part and parcel of that accession process.
Спомнавте скрининг процесот, ги спомнавме и уставните измени на почетокот, тие се актуелни некако во овој момент. Седницата на која ќе се расправа во собранието на оваа жешка тема на македонската политичка сцена е закажана за 18 август. Ставот на власта и премиерот е јасен, дека ова е неповторлива шанса за Македонија да продолжи напред на патот кон Европската унија. Од друга страна, опозицијата со 44 своји пратеници има сосема поинаков став. Се разбира дека има многу политика во целата оваа приказна, но што е тоа пред што е исправена сега Македонија? Ете, да објасниме малку за јавноста и дали е оправдан стравот кој постои, мора да се согласиме дека нема да има понатамошни блокади доколку се донесат уставните измени на патот на Македонија кон Европската унија.
I think you raised a number of really important issues here. And I understand that the debate at the moment about the change to the constitution is complex. And it's actually, of course, a sovereign decision for this country to take. I think what is good is we now have a specific proposal on the table. So people can look at that proposal and ask, what does it actually involve? And as you know, it is to extend the protections of the constitution to people who self-identify as Bulgarian. Of course, it's for the different members of parliament to judge how that fits into the national interest. From my perspective, this merely strengthens the already good protections that exist, and I think builds on the positive relationship, inter-ethnic relations that this country already enjoys. But I think it's also important maybe just to give a bit of background to this. As you know, this is part of the agreement that was reached last July and which resulted in the opening of accession negotiations. That was based on a compromise. It's a compromise which opened the door for this country and meant that this country can now move forward. It's in this country's hand. No one can block the next step, which would be holding a second intergovernmental conference and then going into the details of these different areas of reform which need to be addressed. So no one can block that. The decision has already been made to move forward, but is dependent upon this change to the constitution. So in a way, the door is open, the opportunity is there. Of course, it's for this country to decide how to approach it. I would just add here that I think it's important to bear in mind the broader geopolitical context in which we are living at the moment. You follow, of course, very closely the war in Ukraine. We live in an extraordinary geopolitical moment. The war, Russia's war on Ukraine, has created a new seriousness and better understanding of why it's in the interest of the European Union and why it's in the interest of this country for North Macedonia to be part of the European Union. And that has created a sense of momentum and dynamism. And you saw that in those remarkable decisions taken last year to offer European perspective to Ukraine, Moldova and Georgia in certain conditions, open accession negotiations with Albania and North Macedonia, candidate state, and also the developments which took with Bosnia and Herzegovina, and on the visa-free with Kosovo. So big changes, and our sense that this is a moment of momentum, there is a moment of dynamism. So by taking these steps in adopting the changes to the constitution, the country then is free to move to the next step in the process, which really is focusing on the reforms. You asked me also about the question about guarantees, which I think is an important one. Our experience in the European Union, and this is not the first country to have had difficulties at the beginning of the process, in particular on bilateral issues. Our experience is that as the process continues, as the reforms move ahead, these issues of bilateral questions tend to sort of fall away, and the focus is on where it should really be, which is on the questions of how are you doing on the rule of law, how are you doing on environment, how are you doing on your economy. Of course, we have a responsibility as well to make sure that the accession process is about these issues and that bilateral issues don't get drawn into it. But I'm confident if you continue on the reform path and you take it in a very determined manner, then you will rapidly move forward to the European Union and become an EU member state.
Спомнавте меѓувладината седицата е условена со донесување на уставните измени. Што доколку не поминат уставните измени, што тоа ќе значи за државата? Како би изгледал патот на земјата во поглед на евроинтеграциите без овој услов кој е прв за да започне нели вистинската интеграција на Македонија на патот кон Европската унија?
I mean, if the constitutional changes are not made, and then what it means in practice is this process that we've started will halt, will stop there until the changes happen. Other countries who are also negotiating will move forward, probably move forward in the meantime, such as Albania, they will probably move forward. I'm not saying that as any kind of warning, or it's just a simple statement of fact. Will the European Union disappear? Certainly not. We want this country in the European Union. We believe that we have all to benefit from your membership. So we will continue to engage, we will continue to provide support, but the difficulty is that you will not have the framework of this accession negotiation process to accelerate, to speed up the reforms which are necessary both for citizens, and I think very much what they're looking for, and to come close to the EU.
Го спомнавме скринингот, тој може би е клучен затоа што ги скенира одблиску состојбите во земјата, освен уставните измени, фокусот на Македонија треба да биде владењето на правото, борба против корупција, нешто што го слушаме постојано од представниците на меѓународната заедница. Следи извештај во наредниот период за напредокот на земјата. Битни ни се функционални институции, битно е функционирање на правниот систем, вистинска борба против корупцијата. Дали го гледате тоа во моментов тука во земјата?
I think what we're going to do is once we've completed the screening process, the next step will be to open up the specific negotiations on one area which we consider to be so important to reform that we call it the fundamentals, and which we examine at every single step of the way. And that is the rule of law, that is the fight against corruption, that is public administration reform, and the management of public finances. So, as you can imagine, these are really at the center of things. There will be roadmaps for public administration reform, for democratic institutions, and for the rule of law. And the roadmap means we are literally setting out the different steps that need to be taken and which you need to pass through at every step in order to reach, to progress and join the European Union. So it is literally that you need to do this, and then this, and this. And if it doesn't happen, then you don't progress. And we follow it extremely closely. Of course, we're not just sitting back and saying, do it. We're there to help. We provide technical and financial support to help it happen. But the political drive needs to come from the country itself. I mean, you know, we have an annual report which gives a snapshot of where you are on many of these issues. Some progress has been made in some of these areas. I think also of the work of some of the institutions which are fighting against corruption, which has been good. But there are major concerns about other areas. As you know, we have at the moment a peer review mission here in North Macedonia to look at the Judicial Council, about which we have serious concerns, which the public has very serious concerns. And we want to see real improvements in the performance of the judiciary, the prosecution, and the fight against corruption. There is an enormous amount to do, but I don't want your viewers to come away thinking that, well, it's an impossible task. It's not. Mm-hmm. This is a relatively small country. The idea of the roadmaps is to set out the practical steps, one by one, poleka, which need to be implemented by the country with our support, which are achievable and realizable, and which mean that your path is something very practical and achievable. Other countries have done it. There's no reason why this country should not be able to do it as well, together with our support.
Полека стигавме до крајот на овој разговор. Господин амбасадор, ви благодарам на одвоеното време што бевте гостин во студиото на OhridNews. Ви посакувам пријатен престој во Охрид и да уживате во фестивалот Охридско лето.
I certainly will. It's really always a pleasure to walk in the streets of Ohrid, to have a swim in the lake, which is just beautiful, and then also to try out different places to eat, because the food here is often wonderful. So it's the best time of the year to be in Ohrid.
Ви благодарам уште еднаш, а вам ви благодарам на вниманието со кое не следевте.